Living Proof Radio is often praised for its ability to connect with listeners on an emotional level and inspire them to pursue their passions. Stories of ordinary people overcoming challenges and achieving extraordinary feats. These stories tap into universal human experiences of aspiration and struggle and can help listeners feel motivated and empowered. For weekly episodes and full length, visit patreon.com/livingproofnewyork.
I wanted to start off by saying thank you. Thank you for coming here. I am a pretty firm believer in small business. I'm a pretty firm believer in creativity and creative solutions to problems. And I think the word business can come with a lot of, different thoughts and connotations and stuff like that. But I feel like when I think of business, small business in New York, I think of creative people with a community. I think of people just kind of living their dreams and somehow monetizing in a way where you can create furniture and that's what you live off of. You can create a clothing brand that you take your time to really produce well, and that's what you live off of. In your case, you can have a restaurant where you're doing a very specific type of food and building a community around it in this neighborhood, and that's what you live off of. And I believe in that. I really do. However, I've been talking to a lot of business owners. I've been talking to people who do clothing brands, skateboarding stuff, graffiti stuff, art stuff, all kinds of stuff, and now you. And the consensus I get from everybody is very similar, and it's very honestly like scary. And that's that across the board, they're having a tough time. Across the board, the sales are slowing down. The engagement with the community is slowing down. However, these people, they're all very creative, and I wouldn't say that they don't work hard. I wouldn't say that their business, when you look at it objectively, it seems like it's thriving. It seems like they've always been doing the same stuff they've been doing or better. The quality of the product is actually getting better. It just seems like it's getting better, yet the sales are slowing down. Then I saw your post. I actually saw it through Alex's post, and I was like, oh damn, that's fucking crazy. So yeah, I hit you up, and what's been going on?
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It was a pleasant surprise. It just shows how you guys really care about the vibe of the community and what's going on. You actually brought really important point because as every entrepreneur, you kind of tend to self-reflect on what I'm doing. Usually it's what I'm doing wrong, because when everything goes fine, you kind of just roll with it and adapt. So how come I was doing it well for 24 years and all of a sudden things slow down? Even though you tend to do more and hopefully more creative and evolve more comparing to how you started. It's a good point. I think that city became much less responsive to businesses, gives more restrictions. I think that services became almost illogically expensive. The cost of doing business is more. And in my case, organic food went through the roof, right?
Organic food.
The cost of organic,
Yeah.
of organic produce, and that was always my main leverage, right? We wanted to do unprocessed, minimal manipulation with food, everything from scratch. And that kind of goes against the logic when everybody is trying to be more effective, more efficient, flip burgers that you buy wholesale in a box and you don't have to produce it. And we always thrived on doing it from scratch. So it's kind of goes against you, and our margin already been lower than conventional food because our cost was bigger.
Yeah.
So it's just becoming more and more difficult. But also, I think people now don't see it as a going to the restaurant, especially niche restaurant like ours, vegan, organic, not as a lifestyle, but maybe a reason for celebration and more important events rather than just going casually.
Yeah.
And I actually respect it and understand. And we did some stuff to remediate it, like offering, for example, lunches under $20. But overall, like you said, engagement is becoming a little less intense as it was before, and it's a big question mark for me why. Uh, Again, I would tend to analyze my own actions and see maybe I'm underworking on certain things, but I think that whole perception of going restaurants changed. People try to kind of float between places and just check the scene
Yeah.
rather than be a patron of one or two
Of one or two,
places
yeah.
here, which was always perceived as kind of a loyal and good thing. Now it's like you have to know the vibe. And I understand this as well because our crowd is younger. Some of them are single, dating, so they want to know the scene. They want to know um, what is around, and also being pure, clean, and as I said, organic is not as popular. It used to be that vegan and natural meant unprocessed whole food. Now it can vegan can be anything. You can have junk food and
Could be
enjoy,
Oreos.
yeah, and enjoy it as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of good in terms of diversifying, but that's not how we started, and it kind of brings you to the point that mass culture or mass production kind of taking over and bringing people back to its own I don't know, trap that they set up for people to kind of be a consumer again, because you would probably not go to Dunkin' Donuts or KFC. And now this conversation is not for the reason to bash them, just as an example, but because they have vegan items now, you kind of feel justified that I can go there, despite the fact that they are completely not falling into our own philosophy of what's good for the environment, what's good for people. But because they're doing it, we kind of feel, oh, they're bringing up Impossible or Beyond Burger. And now a lot of people from the community even feel that they have to support them and they have to promote them because now it's becoming part of a culture. But everything starts with good intentions. We started I don't know, refrigerate food because we wanted to save it, right? But all of a sudden, pesticides came aboard, right? Then we started to think about saving a harvest, right? And GMO came about, right? So it's always kind of a good intention to start all this, but people are greedy. People try to monopolize on it and manipulate and leverage it, and that's how it becomes impossible to eat, to consume, to live.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I think like the cost of living in New York City in particular, all around America, but in New York City in particular, has just it's everything is more expensive. Like to give an example, like skateboards, they were $50 forever. Like since I can remember, skateboards were $50. I never heard people saying like, oh, boards are now $50. That's crazy. That was always the standard. That was always the norm. Now they're at 75 plus $85. And I've heard from, different skate shops that's, causing a problem. Board companies, that's causing a problem. Like the price of everything. And so when you're buying organic, natural, whole foods and the price is higher, you then have to charge higher in order to make anything and survive. But then when you charge higher, the customer who also is making this probably the same salary at work. How is he going to purchase? He or she, they want to purchase a skateboard, they want to purchase a meal, they want to purchase a place to live, they want to purchase, and it just becomes almost, it's pretty scary because I'm like, what do we as the local people do? What can we do to make the situation better? And how can business owners who are trying to make their living creatively, because that's essentially what I think small business is about, how can you push forward when everything you do, when you analyze the situation, you try to be like, oh, this is the problem, I could creatively fix this, I could do this, I could do it. You do all the things and it's worse than before. And it makes me think, and I'm trying to be as, positive as possible because I want to believe that there's a real solution and I want to believe that it's within our power to do something. But it makes me think like, damn, perhaps it's just the era that we're living in. Perhaps it's the time period and the societal change that we're living in, because there's definitely been a change, there's been some sort of change that's causing whatever this is, where people who are doing great things are having a hard time living. Even people who aren't business owners that I speak to, just normal friends that are trying to go and get jobs, they have a very tough time finding jobs, and they're like applying crazy to mad places. Unless you go and get a job at Amazon, they're always hiring. You go and get a job at UPS, they're always hiring. But if you want to work at, like, let's say a local shop, it's difficult. If you want to work at a clothing store that you respect and admire, it's difficult because they can't just be hiring. They can't just be hiring whoever they want either. They have to be careful before they fucking go out of business.
I agree. And to reiterate your point, whatever you were discussing, food, skateboard, living arrangement, it's not something that we are discussing as a luxury or something extraordinary. It's a basic thing that we had as a lifestyle. And what's wrong with like having a skateboard or go to coffee shops that you like or organic restaurant? It's like basic stuff. That's one thing. Another thing, how many people are not doing the creative work and not doing what they like, because by doing what they like can't afford them living. I know so many people, and probably you have similar experience, artists, musicians that would love to do something else, but it's more like a hassle for them now, but they doing something as a job that completely not even meeting the needs in terms of satisfying their soul, right?
Yeah.
They just kind of selling their time for money that they can afford normal living, which is probably overall robbing our country as a creative platform for benefiting everyone.
I agree. I think that when you take a look around at the people within New York City, there's so much talent. Even if someone's just working a job that's essentially soul killing, they themselves individually do have a lot of talent, but they have no time to realize that. They have no time to put that into effect. They have no time. Even if they have an amazing idea, the risk you must take and often can't afford to take, to be like, all right, fuck this soul killing job, I'm going to open up a restaurant serving food that I believe in. Well, good luck doing that. You have no savings. You know what I mean? What are you going to have customers right away? And then it's like, the worst part is that, like, you've been doing, Organic Grill has been existing for over 20 years.
Yeah.
We here, like Living Proof has been existing for only 4, right? So I have a small glimpse of understanding of the amount of shit, the amount of work that you've put in, you and your family and people involved behind the scenes at Organic Grill that have put in to make it what it is. I know you guys care. I know about the food. I know about the community behind it. I know about the purpose behind it. It's not just like, oh, veganism's popular, let's fucking make this quick. Like, that's not what it is. And I understand that. However, it must feel crazy to see the business slow down to the point where you're unsure how long this can go on for, when, like, it's your whole life. You're already so deep. You've invested everything into it. And I'm sure nothing more you want than to have it continue. How did that start happening? Like, at a point you're flourishing, the business is going really well, there's a community, there's people in and out. I remember during brunch on weekends, it was insane. Like it
Yeah,
was fuck crazy. You'd have to wait. People would have to wait to
yeah.
to come and sit inside and eat for a while. How did that all start happening?
So I wouldn't want to give impressions that we completely slowed down. We have days and time like this weekend when we had full house and we had musicians playing, but um, how do I explain it? The business became so demanding that you can't afford slow day. Like it has to be well-oiled machine that works under any circumstances and produces, and what it produces usually enough just to pay bills because of the cost, and also because the whole economy of the city changed, and most of the people work remote or work in an office only a few days a week. The companies feel that they no longer have to take care of the employees, that they're already having a good time, right? So they are not offering any corporate breakfast, dinners if people stay longer. They're not um, um, bringing some food for meetings, which was a normal things before. So that was some of percentage of our um, regular daily jobs. I used to be exclusive caterer for Estee Lauder, that had vegan brand Avida, right? And we were helping on all those sample sales and stuff. That was regular things that we did as a in addition to the restaurant. Okay, it was good for us to spread the word about the restaurant, but it was also some of the revenues we generated. Now it's all gone. It's all so you open in your door, and it's basically left to chance whether today is a good day or not a good day, whether tourists are coming or regulars are coming, and there are not enough customers, so you have 4 or 5 good days, and then you have 2 lousy days that basically level your performance to average or below average.
Yeah, yeah. You talk about how the people in charge have their own agendas and they're not really necessarily going with their priorities to help small business. That's not necessarily the main thing that they have in mind. What do you mean
Yeah,
by that?
I'm completely out of the politics, and I'm not pointing fingers, but we are old enough to realize that there is a big vacuum between people in charge and people who are in the field, right? And they're not necessarily looking for our agenda unless they see us as a potential voting pool, right? And they want to manipulate our attention one way or another. And we've been into situations when big banks are being bailed and big businesses being helped. I don't think anybody cares about how organic grill is going to survive, right? So, and again, it's not about pointing fingers, and it's not about expecting help now when we were in troubles. Like, for example, for years and years, we are helping non-for-profit organizations, animal rights companies, organizations, and activists, and they're doing their best, and they are without funds. They only can manage because of our help. Okay, so we can't expect them to help us now when we're in trouble. But what kind of thing came to my mind when I was setting up GoFundMe campaign, when I was writing those um, posts on Instagram explaining what we're going through, kind of humbled me a little bit, and it has to be um, something that brings your ego to the realization that not everything that you think you can handle by yourself. And it's a hard uh, realization for entrepreneur who always kind of defies himself or herself as a person who can solve problems. That's what I was always kind of liking about my resourcefulness, and gives you a point that uh, at one point you have to be vulnerable, and you have to um, communicate this vulnerability not as a uh, cry for help necessarily, but being honest, um, and see who has resources and who can help you at this particular time. And I want to do it the same way to other people. I see my restaurant as a gathering place for community of people that I know for a long time. I don't believe that they just come in for food. We, we, me personally, and personnel I'm working with and my family became an important part of their life. If you come into a place one or twice a week, or even once in a couple of weeks or a month, you have a relationship. And it's not a relationship when you go to Whole Foods, when you don't know the owner, when you don't even necessarily see the manager. It's the same place, and you know that who owns it, you know who works there. And most of the time, I know people's life. I know what they do. Okay, and I would love to be in their business in a good way. I would love to see if I can offer something, because I might know people that they can do business with, and I'm happy to introduce them and try to see if anything is going to come out of it. It's almost like in a way, parallel economy, right? That we have to be in each other's business to support each other. If I'm to like your podcast and like your magazine, I can just hope that it's going to do better. I really need to be in a good way invested and see. Maybe I know guests by accident that you would be interested in. Okay, and it's my um, I don't know if it's the right word, responsibility, but it's my uh, level of investment to initiate this conversation, to initiate these ideas of how can it benefit you. Not necessarily if it retroactively going to benefit me, just because there are abundance of opportunities, and hopefully I can give you something, some ideas that may benefit you. You may not like it, but it comes from a good heart, and I would offer it. So this is my way of kind of becoming a connection, a link, a hub for people who coming in. And I always saw it that way, because the reason I opened the restaurant, because there was so much given to me by this food and by the people who introduced me to this, that I felt that I have to pay back, because I didn't have all those resources before. And now when I do what I'm doing with it, if I'm not giving back, it's just kind of selfish, and it's not going to fit anybody, and it's not going to be benefiting me in the future.
Yeah, wow. I have a lot to say to that. In terms of the idea of Organic Grill as a place for community, and in terms of the idea of a parallel economy, I think those two things are so important and get really overlooked. And nowadays, we're at a point in society where, it's easy to be like fake connected. It's easy to feel like, well, you literally do know what everyone's doing via Instagram, but you could just be inside your house and you're not really taking part, and more importantly, you're not really living, you're not really experiencing life, you're not really out there. And I think that when things like local businesses go away, like legitimately by the people, for the people, the community goes there. It's a meeting place. It's a place where you can connect with people. It's a place where you can just actually meet lifelong friends, go there with lifelong friends, make a life that it's worth remembering and feels good. It feels good to be with people. It feels good to hang out with people. It feels good to support a business. And this is kind of a side tangent, but I remember when I worked there, you would actually talk to all the people who would come in. You actually knew them. And I remember the boxer used to box at Gleason's. He probably still
Right.
boxes at
Yeah.
Gleason's.
Yuri
Yeah,
Forman. Yeah, he
Yuri.
still comes. Yeah.
He was going there and you knew him. And I remember you introduced me on some like just like boxing stuff. And then some kid came in and I just don't want to blow up his spot, but like he was like, oh, I train at Clockwork Jiu-Jitsu. Like at the time I didn't know what jiu-jitsu was. I talked to him and he's like, oh, you go to hardcore shows? Like I think I said I liked his t-shirt, and it was like a community, you know what I mean? Like people from the hardcore scene would go there and people from all types of scenes, but just me being into hardcore growing up, I was like, oh snap, all these people are coming here. This is like a long-standing New York City restaurant that people have a connection to more so than just a place that I'm gonna go and get some food real quick. I think that is super important to protect, because without that, it's like I'm just like picturing a village years ago, before the internet, before anything. People would go to the local restaurants, and it's like it would make sense that people's mental health was good because they know their neighbors. They actually know their neighbors. They actually know the person. They're going to protect the shops next door because they know you. They know the people working there. But now you can get food from far and away through some unknown, unseen app. You don't have to know anyone. I could get food delivered here, right here, and talk to people on my phone all day long and not leave. But that's not conductive to a thriving city, which is what I believe. I know that, like, what I believe New York to be about, from the era when tons and tons of artists were coming out of here and tons of great things that went to influence the world within art and beyond, to like that is in my brain is what New York's about. And I think that Organic Grill is a good, post in that world. Um, you say parallel economy with like everyone essentially supporting each other. And I couldn't agree more, but I think that it creates a problem because like we as the people do have a sense of power because we can all just support what we choose to support, but at the same time there's so many options today and there's so much like convenience. It's convenient to like, I don't want to leave my crib, I'll get it ordered, or oh, I don't want to go too far, I'll go closer. Oh, it's a little bit more expensive, but convenience after convenience after convenience, before you know it, like the communities that we know and love are struggling because of something like that. Yeah.
Of a lot of good points. Um, what would I want to address? I spoke to somebody a couple of days ago, and he's a consultant for businesses, and we spoke about word of mouth, and he flat out told me there is no such a thing as a word of mouth anymore. It is replaced by social media, and it is a paid for attention way of doing business, and you have to master it. And some people are very good at I wouldn't say pretending, it's not pretending, but communicating their message, making videos, and some people are not. Some people are just doing really good food, or some doing really good clothes. And his response was that I now kind of take it very seriously. He said, well known always beats best. Yeah, but this well known might come from money that you pay, right? And it's also justifiable. So by using third party ads, that is obviously offering a lot of convenience. I'm not denying this, right? But you're taking from a restaurant or any kind of business 30 to 35%, which is the whole margin. So for them to work with, let's say, for example, Uber or Grubhub, not to bash them or anything like that, it means that the whole profit goes right there. So if you, not every day, but once in a while, would go and pick up you saving this restaurant or this establishment money. You can't do it all the time. You might be busy with your podcast, right? And you kind of trade your convenience for. But if this place is important to you, that's one of the way to do it. Or maybe bring fans of your podcast to the place and fill it up for once. Okay, that's already kind of trade in for something that you using as a convenience. But also, we were talking about relationship, and you said that you can talk to somebody on the phone. Social media gives you impressions that you know a lot of people, and even sometimes I'm saying to somebody who I communicated with, "Oh, he's my friend," or "I know the guy." But in reality, I maybe communicate with him like once a month on Instagram, right? And I have no idea of what like business he's in or what exactly he's doing. So it gives you impression and gives you access, but not necessarily like true relationship. And I'm sure if I would write to these people now that be in trouble, they might not even answer.
I mean, it's a huge part of our lives, Instagram and social media, and I feel like as a small business, it is one of the biggest aspects. I've thought so many times, how can just personally we do what we do without social media? How can I just like circumnavigate this so I don't have to deal with the algorithm, so I don't have to deal with what feels like a conveyor belt of having to post and hoping that people even see it and having to post some more and hoping that people see it? How can I just circumnavigate this and not do this? And I think about um fine artists and like people who have, you know, just blue chip fine artists who don't need to have an Instagram, who are able to just have their work speak for themselves and they only have to produce one work well produced when they do it. However, I inevitably just get to the point where I'm like, yeah, but that's blue chip fine art, and that what we're doing is completely different. You have to produce and you have to produce constantly, and it creates stress. It creates stress. I can't even imagine now, like it's so much a part of our lives that I can't even imagine a time period when small business was able to thrive without it. It's just foreign to me because I, in a way, kind of grew up with it.
Yeah, you're a generation of.
And I'm like, how the fuck did anyone know about anything? Like, if you have an organic restaurant, if you have anything, without Googling organic food Manhattan, right? Or without Googling, you know, how do you find these things? And it becomes a blessing having that, but also a trap at the same time because it becomes it's just too much. It's too much information all at one point.
But you relied on your friends more, right? You would call your friend, and I heard you went to this place. How was it? Now you can go to Yelp and check
Yep,
it,
yeah.
right? So I think, like with everything, there are very, very good things that came up with it, and there are things that are kind of replacing reality. Um, at the time when COVID was in its height, my son, he didn't go to school, right? So he didn't even see his classmates for like 2 years. Okay, all he did was seeing them online. So it became a blessing that he had computer games and he could play online. That's kind of became his world. Now it's problem because he doesn't feel like going out that much because he knows he always can find a company playing at home. So it's always good and bad. For me, social media is a good way to communicate with some of our customers. I'm really on a very basic level, right? But it also shows how almost, I would say, sensational you have to become to create wow effect. You may work on something for 2 months, like a project or a new dish, and you're proudly putting it on social media and have mediocre response. But when you post what kind of guests are coming, and some of them are celebrity, oh, it gives so much effect, like, wow, these people are coming to your restaurant. How this is a reflection of quality of
Quality
food,
of food, yeah.
or anything like that. So, but people are like that, and you can't deny it. So you have to do both. You have to understand what is important to people, because if we see some celebrities doing something, or wearing something, or eating something, it does have an effect on us. That's why they're getting paid what they're getting paid.
Yeah, which is a lot. Yeah, which is a lot. So he said, the guy you were talking to, he said, well known always beats best.
Best.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy to think about. I think about the people who succeed on social media very quickly. Like on some, they have 0 followers, and then they do 3 posts, and then they have like, some ridiculous amount of followers, 800,000 followers. And it's really about sensationalism, and it's really about this, like, it's just like a dopamine hit. You know what I mean? Like if there was a video at your restaurant of someone screaming at the top of their lungs in front of it, being like, welcome to organic, you know what I mean? This whole
Right,
thing, whether or not that's what you are about, whether or not that is a reflection of the food, I feel like that's likely to do well on social media. But it sucks because sometimes if that's not you and you want to be true to yourself, you're not going to do that. But that's the game, that it's like, to be it's a whole another aspect. It's not just about producing the best conversation or producing the best food. It's about also marketing, because you could have the best product in the world, and if no one knows about it, like, then it doesn't matter.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, that's the truth, right? And nobody told us that life has to be fair, right? And we have to roll with it, and that's where we have to develop resilience, creativity, and who prevents me from being sensational and funny and be a magnet for social media. Okay, so and if you are not, then maybe you have to pay or bring. There are so many layers and aspects
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
What about influencers that used to come to your restaurant, uh, um, um, make pictures and videos of your food, and you consider them friends, and after a while they're becoming very popular, and now they don't want to come to the restaurant anymore, even though you present a new menu and everything, because now they're getting paid a lot for the food pictures, but you help them to pave the way. So it's always about relationship. And I can say something different. I can say that there are people I know who consistently, you're one of them, putting their effort and work in it with their soul and creativity, and eventually they grow. And now they have million followers. What about those people that are justifiably good, justifiably delivering value? Okay, so it's always somebody superficial who got this immediate success, who knows what's going to happen to them tomorrow, right? And people who you know and kind of vouch for, and happy and grateful for their justifiable success, right? Because they're doing a good job in and day out. So it's a phenomenon that probably been forever.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so how have you seen the neighborhood change in the past 10 plus years of you working and doing your thing? And I saw on your Instagram post that so many restaurants, long-standing New York City restaurants, have closed within the past few years. Um, how do you think the neighborhood has changed? Is it even the neighborhood changing that's causing whatever's happening? What do you think?
Um, so again, majority of our business life was in East Village. For 23 years we was there, and everything there was in fiber of our establishment, our business. You were talking about artists, musicians coming in, but it wasn't just because they necessarily liked me or loved our food. Hopefully, it's part of it. But it was also because we took genuine interest in what they do. Okay, like some of those people work next door in health food store. People from Gorilla Biscuits, Youth of Today, people that we knew from performances in Thompson Square Park. And never ever did I think that, oh, what they can do for me. I knew that they're struggling artists, okay? I know that they eat on tour whatever they can eat, even though it's vegan. So every time they play, I felt like it's my role to come in and bring them food. So it's a community feast and gathering. Um, every time somebody come up with new uh, record or they have music coming in or poetry that they want to share. Now we are lucky, we are a little bigger place. We can invite them and we have their own night. If they put in a small film, we are watching it with their own crew there. So we want to be part of it. Like I said about this parallel economy, I want to be in their business. I want to know what they're doing. So it was always kind of something that we consciously did, so it would be fun for all of us. I'm not saying that I was doing it because they needed, because I wanted to be part of it. I want to know what they're doing. I love what they're doing. Like you come into Organic Grill now, you have crayons all over, right? You can draw on a table, table covers, right? We want it to be fun. We want it to be creative. We want it to be what they wanted to be, basically. So neighborhood changed. Yes, a lot of people coming in into East Village, and a lot of people left, right? And now it's almost like I'm going to live in this neighborhood because it's cool for a couple of years, and I'm gonna move on. So people don't even know that we were there for so long, or we moved to West Village, and people, oh, you just opened. Nobody knows that. So it's kind of like segregated community. We do have people coming in. We do have our old customers, but they're not coming as often. Um, but it's not unfortunate. I just think that we have to put more effort into bringing new people. Generation kind of changing, and some of the people hopefully started to cook by themselves and stay home, and they have families, so they can't go out that often. I don't go out that often. I have family, so when I finish my work, I go straight home. Being lucky is that I have a couple of hours just to be home. I think it's a natural change. Um, we can talk about it and kind of reminiscence and be upset about it, but we have to adapt and we have to put more effort into bringing new people in.
Yeah, yeah. I remember I first heard about Organic Grill. It was in the East Village, and I first heard about it through just awareness of the hardcore punk scene within New York. And for the listeners who don't know, like hardcore music, the hardcore scene, and especially in New York, especially in like early hardcore New York City, had a connection to essentially plant-based diet, vegetarianism, veganism. Bands like Youth of Today and Cro-Mags were huge supporters of this movement. And Youth of Today even did music videos.
On MTV, right?
Yeah, it was like No More, and these dudes would be walking around and like spray painting fucking like they were a straight edge vegan band, and Ray Capo is like into yoga. He's a yogi, and like it's the whole thing. And then along with the Hare Krishna movement, and then with Tompkins Square Park, it created this cultural landscape that was open to, I would say, forward thinking, and also open to, hardcore is essentially it's anti-establishment. It's a subculture. It's like anti not society, but like anti-norms. And a lot of the old hardcore bands would talk about that, like kind of thinking for yourself. And veganism during that time period, especially in that scene, was very like um, you're very different from the rest of the world. You'd hear stories about the bad brains traveling the country when veganism, there was no fucking vegan restaurants, and they would have like sprouted lentils in
With
huge
them,
pots,
right?
which is with them, which is super, I guess you could call it extreme when you're living in a world where no one's really doing that. Well, there's societies who do it, like Buddhist societies or different societies, Rastafarian societies, like the Ital diet, like they do that. But I'm saying in America, there was really no one doing it like that. Fast forward, Organic Grill exists, and I see it through just like the hardcore scene. I see people from Madball going there, Chromags going there, Youth of Today going there, like you said, Gorilla Biscuits going there. And I grew up going to hardcore shows during a huge part of my life. That was my identity for a huge part of my life. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? This is sick. And I had just recently started being, whole food, eating more whole food, plant based, and really sticking to that, and just really taking it all in at an earlier time period in my life. At this point, maybe even 6 years ago, maybe that was. Um, and I went there to eat, and just by chance, the day that I went there, fucking John Joseph was there, who I didn't know at all, meaning like personally, but I just knew about like Cro-Mags and that whole story. And then I see you, and you came up to me, were super chill. You knew John, you just knew the whole. It seemed like you knew fucking everyone who was eating there.
Hmm.
And at that time, the only vegan restaurants that I went to were very like processed vegan food. It was very like, maybe not Impossible Burger. I don't even know if that existed then, but like just pretty much like, I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. It's like shit food. It's
Right.
not. It's not good for you. It's like, yeah, sure, you're eating fucking cheese, but it's like, this is like plastic that you're eating. And I remember I went to Organic Grill, and immediately I noticed the difference. Immediately I noticed the difference, and I was like, oh, this is cool, because prior to that I was eating fucking bagels and fake cream cheese because I was like, oh no, I got to be vegan or whatever. You know, being at Organic Grill and then working there for a little bit and seeing the menu and seeing, for some reason, I always remember the cheese that you guys make because I know you guys hand make it. And I was like, this is sick because you get plant based cheese that isn't just a crock of shit. You know what I mean? And the other day, like a month or so ago or whatever, I was like, where, I want to go out to eat, but where am I gonna go? And I was with my girl. I was like, where am I gonna go where I'm not just gonna eat shit? That was legitimately the conversation we had. And I was like, you ever been to Organic Grill? So I researched. I was like, oh shit, they moved, but they're still open. So we walked over there, and that to me was kind of, when I think of like a restaurant with soul, I think about Organic Grill. And I'm not just saying it because you're here. I actually do believe that. I think that that's kind of why I wanted to work there, because I was like, I'll actually be pumped working there because in my brain it stands for something personal to me rather than go work at any other restaurant. Maybe I'll be doing the same shit, like I'm fucking, you know, serving whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like it would pump me up to open it up, or it would pump me up to do whatever it is you're doing because you feel like you're doing it for a purpose. Why did you? I know that was a long thing, but why did you decide to have organic food? And why did you decide to have it be the style of plant-based food that you have, which is like what you're eating there is very real food, and it's very personally created. It's not like you can just, it's not your like Dropbox vegan restaurant where you're like, oh, I'm gonna go have waffles and syrup. You know what I mean? You're gonna have something that you guys legitimately created. It's your thing. You made it
Mm.
with like experimenting back there. Um, how did that idea come about?
Okay. So in order to kind of get to this, I have to say, share a little bit of a personal story, and I don't want it to be like a marketing spiel. I, I I try not to talk about it that much, because if you talk about it this much, it's almost like your marketing
Yeah.
strategy to get a compassion and to get so first, whatever we did, like with cheese for example, or with burgers, because we didn't have a choice, we didn't have good alternatives. It was at the time really bad quality cheese. So we like, we are not going to do it, but we need it. So let's do it ourselves. And that was a kind of a motto or slogan for all our creations, that we needed something that we would eat, not just we would serve, right? The same with omelette. Uh, our omelette got different modifications and evolved over the years, but it started because many years ago, I'm afraid even to say how long, I was a big egg eater. Okay, I don't know if I liked eggs, I didn't like eggs. I would get up and I would eat eggs in all kind of variations, right? It just was kind of like people drink coffee. That's what I did. I would probably not even open my eyes. Okay, and when I became vegan, I was like, holy moly, I really need to create an omelet. And that's how we started, with very simple tofu scramble with turmeric that was kind of welded together. But now, when you come in, it folds, it evolved to the point that it's fluffy, it's really good. And it's not just eggs, it's something that we did, but we did it out of necessity. But I'm an example of, I wouldn't be afraid to say, accidental vegan. I wasn't thinking about being vegan. It just, I kind of fall into this thing because of the family situation. One day, my mom started to complain when we were in States for like, I don't know, 5 6 years. I already graduated master program. I started to work as a social worker in private practice for a couple of years. Um, and my mom got sick, and we didn't know what to do. We just went to a regular, like, ear and nose doctor, and he's like, you have something more serious than I can handle. He sent us to Sloan Kettering Hospital, and in about 2 weeks, she has a terminal diagnosis of very advanced stage of lymphoma. And her doctor, who was really good, and I kept relationship with him for years, he's like, guys, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. You have a month. Forget about anything you're doing. Just get your things together. I'm like, holy moly. It was shock, obviously, for me, for my sister, and for my mom. And to her credit, she was so determined, to the point that our frustration kind of was completely um, taken back by her determination. She was a champion of the country in running many times. Was very strong. Um, um, Spirit, and she told me, I'm not ready to go. I have to do something. And I was like, listen, I'd love to help you out. I'm not sure what we need to do, but let's see what's possible. So this lady, who barely knew English, went to local library in Brooklyn, and found a pamphlet that was like 20 pages about macrobiotic food. And on the back of it, it was something about retreat in Berkshire, where they offer macrobiotic food education. And that was exactly what it says. Nothing specific, macrobiotic food education. What does it mean? Nothing. And she's like, what do I have to lose? He is giving me 1 month. I better try something. And to her credit, and to my skepticism, I was very against it. I told her, listen, I'd love to help you out, but you know how many people want to sell you snake oil, okay? How do you know we have to go there? She's like, I'm gonna go by myself. And then I was kind of put in a situation that I have to think about it, and kind of reflected on my situation. I went out of my parents' house very early. I studied in university, and then I went to army for 2 years. It was mandatory. So I left home like at 17, 18 years old. And I was like, I pretty much didn't live with them all this life afterwards. So maybe I should spend a month with you. So we figure out about this place in Berkshire, and I closed my private practice for months, and I went with her, not knowing what is going to be there. But I saw complete desperation on Sloan Kettering side when he told me, guys, you're on your own. I'm not even recommending the chemotherapy. It's too late. So we went there. I was probably buying hot dogs on the way to that place, I want to be honest, because I had no clue. But when I went there, it was a completely different atmosphere. There were a lot of people like me who accompany the close ones, who were on the last leg. To make the story short, they were teaching us how to cook. They were teaching us how food affect inflammation. And me, having a background, I was a medical psychotherapist for many, many years. I had no clue about the connection. I heard of veganism. I heard of vegetarian people, but it was more like a philosophy for me rather than healing. And I'm saying all this and talking about this story not as a inspirational or motivational story. It did work for us. I don't know about other people, but all I cared about was my mom at the time. Anyway, we had a great time. We learned so much. Did we feel better? I didn't know. Like, I felt different. But I really was inspired by seeing all these people giving it a chance instead of going to traditional route. Okay? So I came back because I had to come back to work. My mom came back for her appointment. Her doctor made, it was only a month or month and a half afterward. The doctor said, listen, I don't know what you did. I can't vouch for anything. But what I can, again, tell you is that I have nothing to offer. Okay? You want to continue? Yes, some of your tests look better, but I don't know what happened. Maybe just a coincidence. Okay? So she went there again for another month. And she came back completely changed person, like ambassador of this style of food. And how you not appreciate all this when you saw that she barely walked, and now she takes long walks on a boardwalk. She's doing this and that. She starts to cook. To make the story short, I was single at the time. She's like, Vladimir, anytime you have a party, let me cook for you guys. But don't tell anybody it's vegan. Let it be just food. And that's when I realized nobody really cares food is vegan or not vegan. Everybody cares food is tasty or not tasty. And that's how we went. Everybody loved it. And then I told them, and they're like, oh, wow, cool. And my mom lived another 8.5 years.
Wow.
8.5 years. Was very productive years that she was able to spend with her grandchildren, with us. We were so grateful. But in order to do this, we had to change our lifestyle completely. Because how can I not support her now if I see such a result, right? So we became part of, me and my sister became part of this local food co-op where we learned about organic food because there was no whole food. We had to volunteer our hours or pay somebody to work. And when my mom passed, we decided to open a restaurant. So Organic Grill is kind of dedication to her lifestyle change that affected all of us. And I felt like it taught me so much that maybe I have to create this establishment for people who can come in and ask me questions, right? Because now I know all these resources. Now I know that minimally processed food is good for you, right? And that's how it became organic. I would never ever imagine myself being in food business. That's not my background at all. But I always felt like this is something that we almost have to do to pay back for those years that it gave us of quality life she had. And I never regretted it. I met so many good people over, like you said, people from Farm Sanctuary, Gene Bauer, all these musicians that would come in from Sepultura, from Iron Maiden, from all this group of from Rancid, from CM Punk. Like I can go on and on and on. And all these people really kind of resonated with me because I'm from a country that was full of propaganda and bullshit. And I don't believe what people say. So I kind of had this punk spirit in me forever. But in combination with this food, it kind of formed what we did. Like we always had books of people who sign them and leave it for other people to see. We always kind of thought that I'm not going to judge you. What do I care if you're vegan or not? You want good food today? As long as you are not allergic to good food, I'm good with you. You want to ask me a question today? Fine. If not, take my number, call me. And I had numerous of people who, God forbid, needed it. And I was able to refer them. Not that I'm a doctor or anything like that, but I know what works for me might work for you. If it doesn't work, you can go and try something else. But it's my responsibility, since I know and experienced it myself, and it changed my life. Now all my families living that lifestyle. Gave my stepdaughter way to Food Network, and she became professional chef. So it gave us so much that I just can't not do it.
Yeah, wow. That's I had no idea. I had no idea about that story, and that's amazing. That's cool that it helped your mom and this different way of eating. You know, I really believe that food is medicine, and I'm not even just saying like um necessarily just a vegan diet, but I just think that different foods have different properties, have different energy, have different things associated with them besides what you can see from like a scientific perspective of just, oh, it has protein, this fiber, it has, you know, there's a fucking reason that a pepper is spicy and you can't explain it. Like it's just spicy because it has some sort of energy to it in one way or the other. It affects your body differently. And um I think that food genuinely is medicine, but it's also enjoyment and it's also community and
Absolutely.
it's also cultural and it's so many things and it connects so many people. And that's why there's things like there's like Munchies, Vice Channel is just based off of people love food. People love the connection to it, seeing different cultures with it and exploring the world through that, getting to know the people, getting to know, you know, the world through that. You know, my family is Ecuadorian and Chinese, and my dad, he had they caught his cancer at stage 3 or stage 3 or 4, very very late. And he did a lot of Chinese medicine and really went deep into that world in order to essentially save himself. But he actually got treated at Sloan Kettering too. I wonder if it's the same doctor. That'd be insane. um you said you still keep in touch. Is it John Healy?
No, no, no. I think that doctor was actually French that
Okay.
who came to do his experimental
Okay.
work. And again, he helped us a lot and everything. It was just not within
Yeah.
capacity of traditional medicine. And you said that food is healer. I also think that atmosphere,
Yeah.
and when you do it genuinely and you really enjoy doing this, it kind of creates a special environment which is amplifies everything. Because I never had, I don't know about you, I never had a good meal with somebody I don't like.
Hmm.
It's usually like a conventional conversation
Yeah.
that you need to, and you really just eat. You are not paying attention to everything that goes on. But usually those deep conversation come when you enjoying food, when you're relaxed, when you feel like good things are happening. And I think the more environments like that, with kind of food that is good, actually changes your vibe and changes your mood after you leave.
Yeah, and it changes your health and it changes your mentality. And I feel like that health is affected by so many different things. I I mainly have been, I guess, a patient of Western medicine, but I do have a lot of respect and believe in all types of medicine. And I think that all different cultures have their own approach to medicine, and they all are good for something. It's very similar to martial arts. Like judo is good for what judo is good for.
Right.
Jiu-jitsu is good for what jiu-jitsu is good for. Boxing's terrific at what boxing is terrific for, but like that doesn't mean that like one is necessarily better than the other or that this one's useless. And I think that a lot of the times we can be like, oh yeah, just take this pill, end of story. Yeah, the pill is useful 100%. But sometimes when it comes to a certain level, let's say in the case of your mom, that shit's not going to work no more. Like you're going to have to open your mind and be open to different things. And through my father's experience, I've met a lot of people and have been observing my whole life a lot of people who tried different alternative forms of
Of course.
medicine, of diet, of mindset and belief that leads to changes like the one that your mom had. I've heard like stories like this, and I try to pay the full respect. And um, I feel like when we're closed-minded to things later on in life, you realize like, oh, you were wrong. Um,
Yeah, it's what we know and we
yeah,
don't. And again, I'm not saying that it's a panacea, and it worked in our case, um, um, but we are not by any means healing restaurant. We just want to do good food for people, and hopefully they enjoy it. That's the most important thing. I'm not It was one of the aspects, and that's why I started, but it took so many reiterations since then, hopefully in a good way. But we also never really wanted to create anything extravagant
yeah,
or something that people would look at and say, oh, this is so difficult to recreate. We can do it. We go there just to see how unique the food can be. For me, it was always something that people would try and said, oh, wow, I can do it at home.
yeah,
Or this type of food is really works for me. It's not too far from what I eat. It's just a little cleaner. So for me, it was always a component of availability and how easily it is to implement.
yeah. I had no idea that you also completely switched careers in order to do this.
I continued over the years. I was continuing doing what I was doing, and only recently I kind of burned out, and I decided to dedicate my like last, I would say, 6 7 years, dedicate myself completely to the restaurant, which I enjoyed.
How much work goes into running a restaurant successfully the way that you do? How difficult is it, and what are some of the problems like and the issues that go unseen?
It's actually incredible amount of work that, and I'm grateful that my family, my wife is very involved. She does inventory. She goes in not just by what needs to be ordered, by actually checks, because you want everything to be fresh, and you want everything to be, um, I would say, diverse, right? You don't want to make the same thing over and over again. But the amount of work, especially like when you know it's going to be busy night for like weekend, incredible amount of. So whoever goes to the restaurant has to understand and kind of I wouldn't say appreciate, because appreciation has to be earned, not given, right? But at least to see if people are up to your standards. Don't kind of assume that they're not. Check them. Let them earn it. Okay. But if they earned, respect it, because everything is so difficult in this world, especially in restaurants where everything is done from scratch, not like everything is done half baked and they just give it to you. um, yeah, I have incredible respect to good restaurants.
Yeah,
All right, and you can kind of feel if people ever worked in a restaurant or not, or worked in a service, because some people are almost obnoxiously um, aggressive and demand things when in fact you are eager to give it Okay, so just let us prove ourselves. Let us. Um, you come into our house. Okay, so enjoy our hospitality. We are more than willing to over deliver. Just give me a chance. Okay, don't start on our own food. Respect our norms. Respect our standards. You come into our house that we established for your liking and enjoyment, and we did it for a long time. So give us a chance. If you proved it to yourselves that we are not, then I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to get your suggestions, but not before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's tough. Working there, my time there, I definitely opened my eyes to the amount of work that goes in. And I always think about it whenever I go to a restaurant, just like any restaurant, I think about it and I look at the waiters and I look at the people behind the thing and I look at the food and I just have a deeper appreciation now because of my time there as to what goes into it. And I recognize that I don't know the half of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, any business, but I feel like the service industry and the restaurant industry is particularly known for you have to, you're grinding, you're working hard every day. A lot of work goes into this. And that's why seeing this thing be around for so long or knowing that it's been around for so long is something that's impressive. And I hope that this thing that we're doing brings some awareness, not just to Organic Grill, but also to the situation of the world and the communities that we're in, whether you're in New York or not, because this is a worldwide phenomena. And I think that um, the idea of, I've never really heard about it before, but the idea of the parallel economy is something that I think anybody can get behind and support and agree with.
And also, it's important, maybe even me knowing it, but not working in a restaurant full time, right? Like I am doing now. People earn money differently. Some people, and I wouldn't say that one way is easier than another. Everybody is working hard. I have never seen anybody like just getting paid and they don't even know where it's coming from. All work is hard, but there are different level of pays, and people in the service, people in the kitchen are getting paid really tough dollars, very very hard money. And when you go in a train at night, just see who is coming home late. Those people are, some of them like sleeping on the way home because they got up early and they work hard. So we need to respect this level of dedication and commitment, because they could have done something else and they choose to do this. You may say, oh, what does he understand? He has no education, like he does what he does. No, he can do something else, and he can probably get money, but he enjoys it, even though it's not as glorious and not as fabulous as somebody who is writing songs or doing poetry. It's a poetry to him. I have a guy who came in for an interview and I like him. He still works with me. And he said, the only way I'm gonna work for you, if you let me do the sauce.
The sauce?
The sauce.
Yeah.
The hot sauce. I was like, what do you care? He said, this is how I do. And he's the hardest guy I ever seen working. Amazing guy. Works for me for 10 years. And how can I not have respect for him? He goes home, he has 3 children. My dishwasher has 7 kids. 7 kids. Every time I have a day extra, why I wouldn't give it to him? So these people is in fiber of this country. And they are as important as somebody who is in a major's office. Or maybe even more important, because he really knows how to work. And those people may talk about something they have no clue about. Okay, so it made me understand and respect and listen to those people who we usually don't listen to.
Yeah.
You know, because what, he's just doing his work. Or what, we're gonna tell him, okay, you just do the thing and I don't need your opinion. No, we do. You know that some of my dishes came from what I saw in the kitchen because not every one of them is vegan, but they do something in the kitchen out of vegan ingredients, something that they enjoy and something that they can eat, even though they are meat eaters. I can't tell them what they at least in our establishment, they eat vegan, right? And some of the dishes we put on the menu because it really came out good, and they kind of been creative to replicate some of the flavors they needed to have. So I think that if we all kind of pay attention to each other and not think that our ego is better or we are more superior than other people, it would be completely different, because vegans are guilty as charged for thinking that they are better people sometimes, that they are more ethical people than other people. It's just a matter of time somebody will turn and become vegan, or he's doing a lot of good stuff that is as important as being vegan. And I'm a good example of not being going all the steps to become vegan. It just happened to me, and then over the years I became more aware of veganism. I became more ethically inclined than I was before. It's a journey. It's not a destination. You are not born to be more spiritual. You're becoming more spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of comparison in our day. There's always been comparison in humanity, and everyone always wants status, and everyone always wants those things. And it's easy to look down on a certain group of people when you're looking up at high society and you're looking up at people who have a lot. But at the end of the day, I think that we are just genuinely all humans, and we have to remember that. And I think that it's just social constructs. It's just social constructs of like, this job happens to get paid more than the other job, because everything is necessary. Everything is necessary for our society to thrive, and every part is important for our society to thrive. Without Every part is important, and I think that that's something that when you see the humanity in that, you can just gain a greater appreciation for life, and make yourself just a better person.
And you can see that some of the people that we really respect went through so many challenges, went through so many different stages in their life, and their humility comes from understanding how it is to be here or how to be here, and it's not defining them. What they do and how they act defines them.
Yeah. Thank you for doing
Oh,
this.
it's a
I appreciate you
pleasure.
doing
I
this.
really
It
enjoyed
was
it.
good to see you. We're gonna put the GoFundMe link in the thing. We're gonna shout it out and do everything we can. And I hope that people listen. I hope that people support, and I hope that people enjoyed this. So thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to tell you guys the reason we put a GoFundMe page. Yes, everybody needs the money. That's beyond the point. But because we have so much more that we can work on, our ideas and projects that we didn't finish, that we feel that we just need more time. We just need more good things to be happening to our establishment and to people who are kind of joining us. Come in, try it, see if we're going to earn your respect and earn your likes for food, and hopefully we worth it. Thank you.
Thank you.